We all know how great the action is in Mad Max Fury Road, the huge explosions and intense spectacle. But the thing that makes it a masterpiece that will stand the test of time are all the small moments of character development and world building that are woven in between, and sometimes even during the action sequences.
Furiosa, what happened to your mother?
She died.
My favourite moment in the film comes here, where Furiosa is reunited with her people. Specifically, it's this gesture here. More specifically, it's the expression on Charlize Theron's face as she does it. There is a monumental amount of meaning packed into this one small moment that tells us so much not just about Furiosa herself, but about the world that the film takes place in, and also about ourselves and the world that we live in, about how we experience memory and the rich, unspoken, communicative nature of gestures. Let's start by talking about Furiosa. Up to this point in the film, we don't know the full details of her backstory, but we maybe have pieced certain things together from the fragments we are told, and we can assume certain things from her actions and behaviour. Furiosa is from a tribe called the Vovolini, or the Many Mothers, but she was kidnapped by Immortan Joe when she was a child, and has since grown up to become one of his top soldiers.
I salute my Imperator Furiosa!
She is tough, pragmatic, and uncompromising. We get a sense of how ruthless she can be when she tries to kill Max without a second thought. Working for Immortan Joe, we can assume that she's had terrible things happen to her, and perhaps even more importantly, been forced to do terrible things herself.
They're looking for hope.
What about you?
Redemption.
She has been transformed by these experiences, both physically and emotionally. Throughout the film, Charlize Theron's performance has been the embodiment of grim, taciturn stoicism.
It hurts.
Out here, everything hurts. You want to get through this? Do as I say. Stay in the ring.
And yet, when Furiosa reunites with her people, there's the slightest hint of softness and vulnerability shining through. Theron keeps it very subtle, but there's an emotional register to her performance that we haven't seen so far.
It's me.
We are getting glimpses of the child she once was, before all the pain and trauma she was subjected to.
There's something in the eyes. Perhaps it is Jabasa's child.
This is our Furiosa.
When Furiosa tells the Vovolini what happened to her mother, they do this gesture of mourning. There's this look of recognition and slight bewilderment in Furiosa's eyes. It's possible that she's never been able to truly mourn her mother before, and she has been completely cut off from her people and their culture. She too performs the gesture, but at first she raises her hand in a halting way, as if she is testing the water, unsure if she should allow herself to continue. But it becomes smoother as she follows through the motion, as if she is reopening neural pathways that have long since calcified. What's happening here should be a moment of grief, but the smile on her face feels more like an expression of childlike wonder. We get the sense that time has folded itself in for Furiosa. This gesture has momentarily returned her to being a little girl again, before all the trauma and strife.
I can't wait for them to see it.
Say what?
Home.
Shortly after this moment, Furiosa will find out that the green place where she came from has become a wasteland. The reason this pain feels so overwhelming is that not only does it mean that Furiosa and the wives no longer have a safe place to go, but also Furiosa, for just the briefest of instants, felt like she had permission to be vulnerable again. She felt safe, like she was when she was a child. For just a moment it seemed possible that the pain she'd experienced and inflicted could all be wiped away, and she could be restored to a state of innocence. But that was torn away from her. It's this small moment here that allows the larger moment to have the resonance and power that it does. The Vovolini's mourning ritual also brings to mind another gesture that we have seen in the film. The War Boys, who serve Immortan Joe, have a kind of salute where they raise their hands with interlocked fingers and bow their heads. It is a gesture of submission and obedience that is performed before Joe, and also before this steering wheel skull symbol that seems to represent him.
By my deeds I honor him.
Most nations and religions have images and gestures which they invest with symbolic power. Because of the brutal hierarchical nature of Immortan Joe's society, the gestures and symbols evoke in our minds the images of fascist totalitarian governments, notably the Nazis. The image of the skull in particular brings to mind its use in the uniforms of the SS. We never get a full explanation of the ideology of Joe's society, but just like real-life fascism, it seems to be a death cult that valorizes self-martyrdom.
I'm gonna die historic on the Fury Road.
The War Boys are encouraged to die in battle, often in extreme ways, and they are told that they will be rewarded in the afterlife for their sacrifice.
And I myself will carry you to the gates of Valhalla.
There's an entire ritual built around it with symbolic spray paint and a call and response incantation. When we see a War Boy do this, afterwards one of his comrades does a variation of the salute with his hands beneath his head. Likewise, there's a moment later in the film when one of the Vovolini is killed in battle, and another of them does their gesture. In both cases, we are seeing someone die in battle, and their comrade mourn for them. It's a humanizing moment for characters who would otherwise just be extras. Yet there is a contrast here. The War Boys are not just mourning his death, they are celebrating it. To die in battle is a great thing for them. They cheered on his kamikaze attack. The gesture isn't really for the dead War Boy, it's for Joe. All of their lives and all of their deaths belong to him. While the Vovolini's gesture, meanwhile, just seems to be an expression of sadness and loss. Looking at the gestures themselves, the War Boy salute with its bowed head makes us think about the hierarchical nature of Joe's society. The rigidity and shape of the hands evokes a V8 engine.
V8.
Which brings to mind how each War Boy is a cog in a larger machine, not valuable in themselves. Meanwhile, this gesture is more delicate and lilting. Not to read too deeply into it, but the initial upwards wrist movement to me seems to signify a soul floating into the ether, whilst the clenched fist is like an attempt to maintain a link with the departed, through memory and love. The gesture seems to me to be an expression of the performer's closeness to the deceased. The payoff to all of this comes when Nux sacrifices himself to save the others. He whispers, "Witness me." But instead of the War Boy salute, Capable does what looks like the gesture of the Vovolini for him. The makers of Mad Max Fury Road clearly put a lot of thought into these two gestures, and how they might be able to tell us about the world of the film, the societies within it, the characters, and ourselves. It's this attention to the smallest of details that makes it such an unforgettable film. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. Normally I do slightly longer videos about old Hollywood westerns, but I'm mixing things up a little bit and I am doing shorter videos in between. So yeah, if you like this, please check out the other longer videos about westerns, and if you were here looking for more content about old Hollywood westerns, then sit tight. There will be some more, hopefully in the not too distant future. Yeah, thanks. Love you. Bye.